Perceptions could change. Opinions can be formed with more accurate information. The accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. Perspectives with Twin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.
So the program taking off late. These are reasons beyond, my control. I was stuck up in an accident scene, and so could just not get my way out until now. But again, like they say, the party must go on, and better late than never. That's certainly not an excuse to give for bringing the program to you late, or this late. But we will go on with the program. It's a public holiday that we all know about, and this is a memory of the late Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Architect Bala Bantex. He was a friend, and so I joined millions, of citizens and close families mourning the death of this icon, this great man. He was a very close person to me, close friend too. But again, may his soul rest in peace, or we can say that. And may God give the family, close friends, and loved ones fortitude to bear this irreparable loss as it is. Perspectives this morning is very disturbing, very worrisome, and I'm taking a cue from one of the greatest columnists that we have with us today, and that's Dan Agbese. For some of you who would know the man called Dan Agbese, he's a great columnist, he's a wordsmith, he's an author, and commentator on public and matters. He wrote, in one of his columns, he wrote about shame on northern leaders. The shame is a shame on northern leaders with what is happening. And that has to do with the banditry that we're seeing, kidnapping, abduction of school children, and all the, pains that they are making, citizens go through today. Where is safe, one may ask, in this part of the country? And for Kaduna, where we're talking with you, it's a daily thing, that people are picked, like chickens all over. And again, ransom demanded. And of course, we know the situation of this country, the economic, low that we are in this country. And the kidnappers just do not bother, and they just do not care. And they demand ransom. Government has said no. It would not negotiate or come to a negotiating table with bandits. So where does that leave citizens? Right now that we're talking with you, there are families that are in pains, crying, wondering where their children, abducted children, are now. And the Yorubas will have this saying that it's better for the child that that is dead than the one that is somewhere where you just do not know whether it's dead or alive. And that's the situation we are in today. And government's prerogative, like we all say, and primary responsibility is, to protect lives and property. But where is government in all of this? Responsibility of government has been, handed over to the people. And so we see protests all over the place. On Abuja Road, there was mass protests the other day. And on Sabo Road, again, there was mass protest, again, by citizens, finding it hard to believe that we are having a government that is just, has been overwhelmed by this insecurity in the state. And so we'll be looking at all of that. My guest this morning by phone is Yusuf Goje, a public affairs analyst. And together, we'll just be getting his thoughts on the situation that we're in today. For Dan Agbese, who had written that, that story about shame on northern leaders, who at this time, again, that we're in, are looking forward to 2023 and saying that, the country or leadership in this country would still stay in the north. Power, so to say. But where are we in all of this when citizens are crying and groaning in pains? Yusuf Goje, good morning and glad to have you on the show.
Good morning, Mr. Tony Alabi. Glad to be here. And I want to join you in commiserating the good people of Kaduna State and the family of the late Deputy Governor Architect Bantex. It is a really sad time for the state, and we pray that God will grant the family and the whole state the fortitude to bear this irreparable loss.
Thank you on that. And I'm taking a cue from just like I said, the background there, that Dana Gbese, a columnist, and a wordsmith, some would describe him, and the co-founder of the Newswatch newspapers. Remember the days of late Delegiwa, Ray Ekbu, Yakubu Mohammed, and Dana Gbese. They were the big four, that came up with that newspaper, that news magazine. Then the Newswatch. It was a popular magazine, and we all knew what that magazine, had cost, with its investigative journalism that we had, and had to, to lead to the death of one of its co-founder, that's Delegiwa. But again, Dana Gbese still writing on Nigeria, and especially this time, saying that it's a shame on northern leaders, what is happening in the north. For you, a shame. Let's start with that. And is it a shying away from their responsibility, or the insecurity that is all over the place, and yet, they can't just seem to have answers or to do anything about it?
All right. Taking a cue from what the legendary Dana Gbese has written, one thing that stood out in his write-up was when he talked about power without responsibility. And that is where what we see today, particularly in the north, where we see people struggle for power, not because they want to carry out the responsibility of securing and providing the welfare needs of the people, but because of political reasons, because of privileges, because of wealth, because of their ego, as against what democracy should stand for, which should be about the people and for the people and by the people. So he's not far from the truth, and that is the reality that we have today. If you go back to the era of Sardauna, because he is the modern leader of the North, looking at the legacies he left behind and where we are today, then we have no reason but to weep for the North. If you would recall, Mr. Toyi, during Sardauna, he brought what was called the Northernization policy, which was largely designed to ensure that the North catches up with the South. Because, at a point in time in our history, before independence, the North rejected our being granted independence because the North felt we were not ready. And if that should happen before the North was ready, then it means the South would dominate every sphere of life in the North. And that was one of the reasons why our independence was shifted to 1960. And in doing that, he brought up the modernization policy. And in 1962, you find out that he developed a 6-year development plan, which had two major key areas of focus. One is indigenizing the economy of the North, and two, investing in human capital development. And this, we have seen that a lot of legacy has been battered out of this particular modernization policy, which during that tenure, he also ensured that the salaries of all public officers were reduced. A lot of their allowances were cancelled because he wanted that policy to become reality. And out of that policy, we saw the birth of the Northern Nigerian Development Corporation, which battered a lot of business enterprises like the Arewa Textiles, like the New Nigeria newspaper, Kobo, and all those other investments that we've seen. And he fought that the North had almost 50% of every position or slot then at the national level. And these were great legacies. We saw the Ahmadu Bello University that was battered, and which also gave birth to other universities across the North. But the question we would ask ourselves is, where are those legacies? what have our present crop of northern leaders done to sustain these legacies? They have practically taken all these legacies into extinction. Even those ones that are in existence are barely functional and they are not yielding the desired results. So it means that we must not mince words and say the present crop of northern leaders have failed the north. And when we talk of insecurity, insecurity does not just happen by chance. There are factors that trigger or enable insecurity to happen. Just last year, the World Bank said 87% of the poor in Nigeria live in the north. To narrow it down, half of the poor in Nigeria are said to be living in the northwest. This is in their Advancing Social Protection in Dynamic Nigeria report that they released last year. If you go back to human capital development, what state governors have been investing in health, in education, and in labor market participation space, you find out that the present insecurity that we face shouldn't be a surprise to anyone in this country because this is predictable. It is what you sow that you would surely reap. So as far as the shame being on our present northern leaders, I think I stand with Dan Agbese to that effect because presently we have a situation where government is failing, and that is the reality that we must all come to terms with. And as government is failing, the Nigerian state is equally failing. Government, you have only one standard of measuring any government, regardless of political party, and that is Section 14(2)(b) of the 1999 Constitution, which says the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. So any government that does not provide those two critical factors, security and welfare of the people, then automatically it means that the government is failing. So these are realities that we must look at. Presently, we look at terrorism in the north. As a result of the terrorism in the north, Nigeria is top in ranking in terms of the global terrorism index, just behind Iraq and Afghanistan. So when you begin to put these factors into reality, then you understand that, yes, Dan Agbese has every right to say shame on our leaders. Unfortunately, all we see them is decamping from one party and the other, going to hold rallies, welcoming people that would not necessarily directly impact the livelihood of the common man. So they want power, but they are not ready to take up the responsibilities that come with this power.
Okay, Yusuf Goje, I will have to go quickly for on a commercial break. Be back with you shortly.
Invicta FM.
We got you like nobody got you. Because we wake you up in the morning. Wake up. Work with you all day. Keep you company all night. We are Invicta 98.9 FM.
Perceptions could change. Opinions can be formed with more and accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. With Twin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.
Welcome back. Is the program Perspectives this morning, and we're taking a cue from an article written by one of the greatest columnists that we have around, Ward Smith, and a co-founder of the Newswatch magazine. That's talking about Dan Agbese, who had referred in his article to the northern leaders as a shame on the northern leaders about what is happening today kidnapping, banditry, abduction of school children, all going, and it's coming on a daily basis now. And again, just going through one of the papers this morning, there is panic that bandits could just have kidnapped the Emir of Kajuru in Kaduna State. Now, the question is, where is safe? And is this overwhelming government? And of course, some analysts too have said that it's about time that maybe declare a state of emergency in some states of the north. That's how worrisome the situation is. But my guest by phone this morning, Yusuf Goje. Yusuf Goje, I just want to bring in the plight of parents in all of this. And I'm not just looking at parents, I'm seeing them as citizens too, about what they're going through, the trauma of all of it. And I'm looking at this, the season that we're in, and I'm looking at, these children, for the ones that were abducted in some of the schools, over 100 students, carried away, and asking the question that 100 or plus students can be carried away from the school and nobody got wind of, that going. And again, schools have been asked to close down, surrounding schools have been asked to close down in Kaduna State. Now, what this tells, on what we're going through now with security in the state, and of course, looking at the Emir Kajuri, being kidnapped too, so to say. So, where are we now?
All right, I just want to still raise the question that is Nigeria a failed state or a failing state? Because this is a question, though an uncomfortable question to ask, but it is a question that we must give an answer before we know whether we can begin to find solutions. And just to ask, what are some of the factors that contribute to state failure? One, you have insurgency. Two, you have high crime rates. You have corruption. You have judicial incompetence. You have military interference in politics. You have a lot of other factors that we need to look at. When a state is unable to ensure that it is the only one that has monopoly of violence, then it means that we need to begin to really review this question. And it is only when we answer this question that we can begin the journey of finding a solution. Presently, in line with the section of the Constitution I highlighted, the primary role, the primary responsibility of government is the security and welfare of the people. At any point in time that any citizen or resident of any state in Nigeria is killed, it means government has failed. For every time that government cannot secure the lives of every citizen, especially traditional rulers and other people that are kidnapped on a daily basis, it means government has failed. I'm juxtaposing this with the section of the 1999 Constitution. For every time that students cannot go to school and learn in a secured, peaceful, convenient environment, it means government has failed because they are being kidnapped. These children that are in the hands of these bandits, all what that is telling us is that government has failed these children. And let's tell ourselves the truth. What we are seeing is that we are fast coming to a situation where Boko is becoming haram, which is what Boko Haram terrorist group is talking about, because people can no longer send their children to schools outside the main city of a place like Kaduna. So it means a lot of children are being derived from the benefit of getting education. So it means that government needs to wake up to its responsibility. This is not time for us to talk. This is time for us to see that government either takes up the responsibility of securing the people, or we look for alternatives, which we don't want to look, because government is the only legitimate institution that is giving the monopoly of violence. So we call on government that people are dying on a regular daily basis. Yesterday, people were killed in Zangon, Qatar. I saw somebody post that an elderly woman, innocent woman, was killed. What crime has that woman committed? Why can't a country she calls her country protect her? So if declaring a state of emergency is the option available on the table that would ensure that this needless killing, this deprivation of young people from their freedom, from their right to access to quality education is going to be addressed, why not? Because this is going out of hand. Reality has shown that government has become overwhelmed with the present insecurity situation. And we have not seen enough proactive measures. Although I'm not a security personnel and I don't have sensitive security information to come into conclusion, but whatever it is government is doing, the evidence has shown that it is not enough and it is not yielding the desired result. Because for every one soul lost, it means government has failed. We must begin to value human lives in this country. We cannot continue to count numbers of people that die on a daily basis as if we are counting chickens that are being slaughtered for a celebration. So these are issues that we must come to terms. If declaring a state of emergency is what will bring this situation to an end, then we need it. Because if we don't nip it in the bud, it will continue to get worse. And anywhere there is insecurity, you have rippling effects. It will increase poverty because people are selling off properties. People are going into debt just to pay ransoms in millions of naira on a daily basis. And these families, even if they get back their loved ones, they are automatically thrown into abject poverty. People are losing their means of livelihood because they cannot go to farm. They cannot carry out legitimate trade, carrying people, goods and services from one location to another without fear or without even encountering kidnappers on the road. So it is affecting every aspect of our livelihood as a country. So we need to begin to take proactive steps. Yes, we cannot sit down here and say the security are doing nothing. No, we are losing valuable personnel in all security agencies to these bandits too. And we must commiserate with them because they are also citizens, they are also human beings. But we need the kind of leadership that would show us that, yes, this problem is solvable, that would build confidence in Nigerians to ensure that everybody plays his own part in bringing this insecurity to an end. Because what is even happening now is that people do not even trust government to even tell them sensitive information that will serve as intelligence for government to act promptly. So we need to see that there is that kind of leadership that can galvanize everybody, because what we are presently seeing is nothing but the failure of leadership. Because with leadership, we can bring back the bad situation into an opportunity that we can forge ahead as a great nation. I'll give an instance. If you look at Winston Churchill during the Second World War, Britain was at the brink of defeat, but he came out as a leader to galvanize and mobilize a whole nation back to its feet, and they were able to come out of that crisis or that war stronger as a nation. And that is what we need to see at this point. But when we see that we don't have a leadership that we can look up to as citizens, it becomes very difficult for us as a nation to rally around our leaders to fight this insecurity that we are seeing today. And the government itself is paying attention to debunk things as far as I'm concerned. We see coordinated attack, coordinated security intelligence and response when it comes to secessionists, which is not bad in doing that. But right about now, from the realities we see on the ground, Nigeria is under attack. That is the reality we must tell ourselves. It's not the convenient truth. It's not the convenient thing to say, but we must first accept that there is a problem before we can begin to even address this problem. When traditional rulers are taken easily, when young people are stolen from school, like they are just properties or bag of rice that people just come to steal or what have you, then it tells you that we cannot continue to live in self-denial. We have a problem as a nation. And part of that problem is that we need our leaders at all levels to wake up to the reality that for them to achieve any of their aspirations, there needs to first of all be that for that to happen.
Are we in a situation, Yusuf, where the people have lost trust in government? I am talking about a situation where the Commissioner of Internal Security and Home Affairs, was to address communities in where the Bethel Baptist School children were abducted, and the community stood up and said no to that, and that they just did not want to hear him talk. And then the protests that we're seeing on the streets, community citizens taking over the streets, is that showing a sign that we probably must have lost confidence in government to protect lives and property?
No, definitely, because, for example, it is expected that we spend billions of naira on security as a nation. And I can tell you, just since you brought the specific case of Kaduna State now, and if you look at just in the first half of the year, if you look at what government has spent in terms of security votes, you find out that just on overhead, government has spent about 321 million naira, then capital expenditure about 295 million naira, which is about 617 million naira just in 3 quarters, January, February, March. We have not seen the budget implementation report for the second quarter of the year, which will definitely take it to over 1 billion. So when you see government spending that kind of money, and don't forget, sometime in 2019, the president was in Kaduna to launch the 1.2 billion naira Kaduna State Area Surveillance and Monitoring System. And again, in 2017, about 2.5 billion naira was said to be, was budgeted for procurement of CCTV cameras and drones to provide adequate security cover. When you look at this kind of money being spent and you put it side by side with the present state of security, people have every reason to no longer trust government effort. Because if they were investing in intelligence gadgets, which is the purpose of the CCTV and the drones and every other thing we are spending money on, what is the value for money? How many lives have we saved as a result of spending that kind of money? Because I did a recent engagement around Igadi. Almost all the wards we went to them, is presently under attack by some of these bandits. This was what the community people were telling us. 20, 30 people are being kidnapped on a regular basis, and these things don't get to the media. So people think nothing is happening. The situation is more worrisome than we think it is. So it means that people no longer trust government when they see that institutions that should protect them can no longer protect them. Words at this point in time are meaningless when people cannot see action. And when we talk of action, to see that government is taking proactive steps in taking this fight through this bandit. Government is foiling kidnap attempts. Government is arresting conspirators. These are fiscal actions that will build confidence. Coming to commiserate with people or give praise statements have lost its meaning in this country, because those statements cannot bring back what these people have lost. And these people know that whether government comes to speak to, for example, there's an official statement that government said they would not pay ransom to bandits. That is on one part. Then on the second part, government is not showing capacity to be able to go and rescue these people that have been kidnapped. So why should people have faith in government then? Because one, you're not negotiating. Two, you don't have the capacity to go and rescue. Then why are you coming to tell us to speak English to us or to wear sad faces and make us want to feel you're with us? So it is the only way government can win the trust of people in this crisis is through action, is through demonstrating results. How have we reduced the rate of kidnapping?
Okay, and Yusuf, time, just the temerity, the audacity, and that the kidnappers or abductors would come with to demand that these are what must be put in place, for as part of negotiation to have citizens released. That these are the things they need, and coming out so open and making these demands. So what does that tell you about how emboldened these people have come to be?
Well, that tells you that really we're in deep trouble, because these people are coming out to challenge openly the legitimacy of the present government we have. And the risk is this: by the time citizens notice that these people have more monopoly of violence more than government, loyalty might shift. Because we have seen history where it shows us that insurgents, even established territories, begin to collect taxes. It happened at some point, I think, in Maiduguri or so, where they hoist their flags, put their government in place, assigning commissioners and governors for locations. And if this is not stopped, this is where we're heading to. But the reality is this: we must also come to terms that we must not all say all responsibility is with government. All of us have our own roles, individual roles to play. We cannot give up at this point in time because we are not happy that government is doing what we should be doing, what they should be doing. But also as citizens, we must begin to see what role can we play in ensuring that we bring this to an end. Because if not, it will not only consume those in government, it will consume all of us. And presently, we are even the ones suffering it the most. So it means that it is a fight for us, and we all must play our little role to see that if there are areas that we think we can complement what government is doing, yes, we should. Because let's not conclude that government is not doing anything. They are doing their own part, but what we have seen is that probably you have areas where we don't see enough political will in driving this path. We see more the president saying he's talking to secessionists in a language they want to understand. We need to see the government, the president talk to these bandits in a language they will understand, because we are yet to see him doing that. So we need to see the kind of victory that we see the government celebrating, that they go outside the country to arrest Nnamdi Kanu, or the daredevil attack on the house of Igboho. We need to see the same replicated in these bandits, because these are people that are already rooted, they are spreading, they are expanding as far as we are concerned from what we are seeing as citizens. But we must ensure that both government, both citizens play the role, because it is not the president that is under attack, it is not the governors, it is Nigeria.
Okay, Yusuf, could I just bring this in before, we just have the lines open there? Perspectives may just extend with some few minutes, on the time. And this is to bring in the issue of if you could spare a thought for parents and these children, what they're going through. And I'd like to bring an example of what they say is happening in Zamfara State, where the Stockholm Syndrome has, started working on the children. This is a situation where the children are beginning to like their abductors or like the kidnappers and getting friendly with them, and may want to, join them and sympathize with them too. So spare a thought for what these children are going through in this terrain that they put through, and for the days and weeks that some of them have been there, and of course the trauma that parents are going through now.
Okay, that is the most dangerous part we are also not investing in as a nation and as a state and even as parents. Because for every day these young people spend with these bandits, for every day, as it is said, the desire of the oppressed is to be like the oppressor. So by every day they begin to see reasons why what these bandits are doing have legitimacy. Because don't forget, while these people are there, it's not as if the bandits don't talk to them. As based on what you hear, they tell them their grievances, they complain to them why they are doing what they are doing. And at the end of the day, you might have the tendency that these young people might begin to even see legitimacy in what these people are doing. So I urge that even with parents, even with the government, that once these young people are released, they should also be subjected to a process of de-radicalization, where they will get psychosocial support before they are left to go into the society. Because a lot of them, it might not be immediate, but it might have changed their perspective about life, how they see government, how they see a lot of things. So it means that they need to also be subjected to that process of radicalization. Sorry for the pronouncement.
Okay.
Radicalization, yeah. So for the parents, we can only but imagine what they are going through. But it's definitely a trying times for them, because, as you have said, Yoruba could be. A lot of them would rather that, yes, they know that the children are no more than they sit down and imagine what these children are going through. And a lot of them, psychologically and health-wise, not be the same again, even if these children are.
Okay, so just go for another break. Be back with you shortly.
Invicta FM.
Let it linger as we feed your curiosity on 98.9 Invicta FM.
Guy, what's in the make you scatter house like this, eh?
I beg, you help me see my Airtel SIM.
I carry and give Shade yesterday, but you know they use him again now.
Yay! You don't carry my bonus give landlord picking. Now today you go pack out.
On top Airtel SIM?
Yes, so if you don't reach 15 days where you never use your Airtel SIM, go find them now. Because why? Obonga will full on top of. Hey, get 2,000 Naira airtime plus extra 200 MB for just 200 Naira. The more you recharge, the more you are woofo. To begin enjoy this awoof, just dial *241*7#. Terms and conditions, J.O.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Hey, this is Rihanna.
It's your boy Chris Brown.
What's up, y'all? This is Kanye West.
What's up? This is Alicia Keys.
This is your boy Neo.
Radio at another level. Invicta
FM.
Welcome back. It's the program Perspectives. It's coming to you on Invicta 98.9. And just before, I get off our guest by phone today, Yusuf Goje, I'd just like to bring in this question. In the course of the imbalance in the nation, we had a situation at one time that we were talking about bridging the gap between the North and the South. But with all that is taking place or playing out now, Yusuf Goje, for you, are we widening the gap, or you think we're bridging it as it is now?
Well, thank you very much. I quoted a report by the World Bank which says about 87% of the poor in Nigeria are living in the north, while just about 12 to 13% reside in the southwest, southeast, and south part of this country. So just that alone would show you that to a large extent that gap is not being closed. It is widening the more. So also if you consider the inequality gap between in the north and in the south, you find out that the north is far behind. So also in other aspects, out of school children, the north has, the figure 9 has been moving from 10, 13 million or so. And these are indicators that show you that we are not closing that gap. And the impact of insecurity, particularly Boko Haram from around when they intensified their activities in 2009 till now, has also done so much damage to economic development in the north. Educationally, a lot of schools have been also affected. A lot of children are presently out of school for so many reasons, poverty included in it, insecurity and what have you. So we can't really say that that gap is being closed, because if you check it based on data, the southern part of the country to a large extent has more economic and social stability compared to the north. And if you don't have a certain appreciable level of stability, it will be difficult for you to grow, and it will be difficult for you to even bridge the gap between the north and the south. And that's why even the first question you asked about shame on our leaders, it must always reoccur when we have this conversation, because the modernization policy of Sir Ahmadu Bello then, in the pre-independence down to the early independence years, was for the north to catch up with the southern part of the country. And the statistics data have shown that we are doing a bad job in catching up with the south, despite the fact that we have so much potential. But we find out that most states in the north and even pay salary without going to Abuja to collect the federal allocations, account committee, monthly give out that they do. Some would call it the national case. So I think that gap is widening rather than closing. And I think our northern leaders at all levels must begin to sit among themselves. We are not saying shift on them because we want to insult them. It is because they have failed to do what they are supposed to do. And this is the time for them to really ask themselves why they are leaders. Are they leaders because they want power, or are they leaders because they want power with responsibility?
Okay, so let's take it to the public space now and bringing in our callers let's get their thoughts too on this. Today's program is hinged on what's this columnist, great one, Dan Agbese had written about. He had captioned it as shame on Northerners. And Dan Agbese, for some of you that will go back to history, was the co-founder of the News Watch magazine. He's a wordsmith, as he would be described by some people, and a public affairs analyst too. So he came up with this article, Shame on Northerners. And so Yusuf Goji, my guest this morning, public affairs analyst too, sharing thoughts to that. Let's get to hear you on 081 40,000 989. 081 40,000 989 or 070 87 800 989. 070 87 800 989. Hello, good morning.
Very good morning, Toya.
Good morning.
Good morning, my Oga at the top, Yusuf Goji. I'm Kure by name.
Kure.
Yes, he has spoken very well. Me, the question that I want to ask, does it mean that these people, they are more than the federal government? That's why they cannot declare them terrorists? That's number one question. And the second question is that, didn't the government knows that these people have been saying that Boko Haram, based on my own understanding as a northerner, that to go to school is prohibited? Does it mean the government doesn't know that meaning that they want to impose on the government? Because if you see it the way they are going now, they don't want the school to be existing in the north. That's just that. Since many schools have closed because of them. So me, I don't know what is wrong with the northerners, that they cannot declare these people as a terrorist. If they can declare Sunday Igboho and that of Nnamdi, it's almost the same activity they have been carrying. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, still with your calls. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Toyin.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good here.
Yeah, I'm Luca Adop from Marabarido.
Okay, Luca.
Yeah, I don't seem to understand with what's really happening. Since last year, up to this very material time, we've been calling for the federal government at least to declare these people terrorists. And the government the government seemed not to do what people are talking about. That's to say the government is adamant on our own request. And this thing keep on increasing, and especially in the north here. I think we in the north, we are supposed to have our eyes hiding, you see, because of what's happening.
Instead of having our head hiding, some people are busy talking about rotational system of government. That is, this time for the north, this time for the south. And the north is still actually saying that they want to rule, they want to continue ruling, when we're supposed to have our head hiding. I think the north should shift the power to another side. Let's see whether there will be change. Because it's like the leaders of the north have told us, we in the north. The northern leaders have told us, we in the north. In fact, what is happening, one from the north should be ashamed of what is happening. We cannot put this, we cannot bring peace in this country. For the past head of state and head of government in this country, we count, we might get 15 or 16. And if you look at how many of them have ruled this country, either 10 or 11, all from the north. Yet the north is wallowing in poverty and insecurity. So the government should please, by all means, see that actually this thing is a begun issue. And we still beg that these bandits will declare terrorists. Have a nice day.
Okay, thank you, Luca. One more, and then we come back to our guest. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Choi.
Good morning.
Good morning to the guest. It's Francis calling.
All right, Francis.
Thank you. Honestly, your guests are really done justice to the topic. The simple truth about all this is we are in a river and soap is entering our eyes. For a government that called their predecessors to resign, that they have failed Nigeria, to be in power, and these things are happening, going worse on a daily basis, and they are still in power. What will we call them? Which name or what are we Nigerians going to call this government? Is it government? Or that they have come to dupe Nigerians? Why they promise us they are going to secure us in 3 months? Stop what was happening in few states in the previous administration. They came to power with the promise of stopping that. Now circulate the whole insecurity nationwide. And they are even comparing insecurity that are taking lives on a daily basis, packing Nigerians into bush on ransom on a daily basis, better than two individuals that are talking about they want to leave Nigeria, that Nigeria is no longer conducive for them. They are comparing terrorists to be better than those people and giving them names, bandits, this and that, instead of declaring them terrorists. The secret behind this must come out very soon. God is watching and He's doing something about it. The secret behind this terrorists will come out soon.
Okay, Francis, thank you. Just coming back to you, Yusuf. Just before you go on with, putting your thoughts on some of the questions that were raised by the callers, I just want to put this across too, that banditry, kidnappers, abductors, and people would want them to be labeled as terrorists. Why the demand for them to be labeled as terrorists? And what does it do to what we're talking about? Criminality is criminality anywhere you find one.
Well, while I understand where many people are coming from, that this group should be declared terrorist group, but for me, I believe in one thing, and this is criminality, and it is the responsibility of government, regardless of whatever you call it, banditry, insurgency, terrorism, kidnapping, whatever it is. It is the responsibility of government to stop it. So I'm not interested in the name that it is being called. It doesn't add or reduce the value as far as I'm concerned. What is happening is that people are being killed on a daily basis, people are being kidnapped, people are being thrown into poverty as a result, people cannot do economic activities any longer. So what I see is criminality, and government should come out and address this criminality. Yes, our territorial integrity is under threat. We cannot run away from that. And that is the more reason why government must do more than it is doing. Because I wouldn't say they are not doing anything, because it is a dishonor with the thousands of our soldiers or hundreds of our soldiers, our police that have died in the course of protecting us from this category of people that are using against this nation. So, but government needs to do more, and they need to do more by ensuring that they don't only address the criminalities that is happening, that is being carried away that we see. Insecurity, as we know it has a value chain. You have the people in the field perpetrating it. You have those dealing in arms and hard drugs. You have those informants. You have sponsors. You have even political collaborators, usually in government, because once you study issues around insecurity, crime all over the world, this information is available. So I also know that this might not be different from the situation in Nigeria. So in addressing this, government needs to look at the value chain. I remember just a few times, I think months back, the government said that they have identified sponsors and what have. Who are these sponsors? Let's know them. What has happened to them? For those ones that have been arrested, what is happening to them? What programs are they putting in place? The only thing we hear is that they are being rehabilitated or they rehabilitated. I don't know the English being used. To rehabilitate some of the terrorists that have been arrested by government. But we need to do more proactive steps. In the issue of whether government has failed to secure us, all we need to do is not even look at whether it is a political issue. Let's look at the facts. And what definition globally has been accepted for a failing state. Let's look at them. Let's compare the realities on ground. That will give us a clear answer of whether we are a failed state or not. I don't want to know the political party of the president or who is the president. What I know is that he saw to an oath, so also the governor, so also the local government chairman, to ensure the security and welfare of the people. And presently, they are not doing a good job about it. And that is the concern. And it is why people on our own part must also begin to engage. Because insecurity is a lucrative business. You have conflict entrepreneurs that are making money as we speak now out of this insecurity. So what we need to do is to also intensify our role as citizens to ensure that we begin to put pressure on government, begin to ask the right questions, begin to follow up to ensure that all money allocated to insecurity is being spent in the right way, and to ensure that all actions government is taking is get towards reducing the pace of insecurity that we see. And that is what should be in our collective mind. I don't want to say everything is government, because we as citizens are also government. We have our role to play. And that is why you cannot talk about democracy without the people. So the question is, what is the role of the people? And that is where we need to emphasize. Because we cannot at this point sit down and say it's only those in government that will hand over the security of this nation to. It has gone beyond that. We must play our role in ensuring that these people are doing the right thing at the right time. If not, they will be more focused on politics and the economics of the crisis than actually saving lives and protecting people. So let's wake up. We don't need to even do anything out of the law. The law has provided us with avenues to engage and hold the government accountable to do what they are supposed to do in stopping this insecurity that is happening in this country. And those are the things and the kind of conversation that as citizens we need to begin to have among ourselves. Because insecurity on its own is also a distraction. Because presently the budget of this country is being implemented. Nobody is asking any question. Because everybody has to talk about survival first. But when survival is happening, other things are also happening in government. And governance is also taking place. Budgets are being implemented. What is happening to those things? Because you can't take away the fact that it is because of low level of human capital development. That is why we have a high level of insecurity. So we must address the immediate problem and also at the same time focus on the root problem. Because we don't address the root problem, we'll just have cosmetic solutions. And at the end of the day, this thing will be manifesting in new versions and new faces, no matter the effort being put in place.
Okay, Yusuf Goje, would like to thank you on that. Thank you for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, and that's just about the size of it on the program Perspectives. And Perspective took a cue from what this columnist and author had written about the North, saying that Northerners, shame on Northerners. And this had to do with the insecurity that we have in all through that. And some people are saying, are we having a failed region? We'll come back with perspectives tomorrow. I'd like to thank Bleedies for connecting us with the people with joy. Thank you for being part of it, and Wisdom dancing the pictures. Good morning.
Invicta FM.